Good morning and greetings from Northumberland. Merry Christmas. It's St. Stephen's Day, the 26th. It's a bright but cool morning here in Northumberland, and we celebrate the first Christian martyr. Let's think what we can think about from St. Stephen. Firstly, he was a deacon, one of a small group of people set aside, ordained by the early church to care for the poor, to make sure that the weakest among them were looked after. That's an important starting point. In the life of the early church, they began to assume a responsibility for those who were weak. Yesterday, the King, in his first Christmas speech, spoke movingly about people who have a diaconal role. He spoke movingly about emergency services, about the army, about people who volunteer to staff food banks and to help others. All of those roles, which are a little bit controversial at the moment because of industrial disputes, remind us of the Christian calling to care for the weak and the downtrodden. And the King rightly pointed that out as he gave his first Christmas speech to us. And I thank God for that speech, which not only did that, but drew our attention to the birth of Christ and the effect of going to that place, the effect that going to that place had on the King. But back to Stephen. Stephen had this role, and we as Christians have our own diaconal role to make sure that we can be alongside those who are in need. Secondly, Stephen proclaimed the gospel. That's why he got in trouble. As well as caring for the sick, he spoke about the truth of Jesus Christ. And that brought him to persecution. And his refusal to stand back from that heralded the refusal of Christians over a long period who stayed faithful to Christ even unto death. And today that reminds us of Christians in other places who still suffer that fate. Yesterday, I had greeting after greeting on WhatsApp from Iranian friends, and I say back to you, because I know some of you are watching, Christmas blessings to you. These friends came as what many people in this country think of as a problem, but I think of as a gift. They came because they faced persecution, having discovered the Christian faith in Iran. And they were forced to flee. And in the years they have been here, and many of these I've known for 4 or 3 years, some for longer, they have remained faithful to that Christian faith, becoming part of churches in this country and continuing to live as Christians alongside us. And they are a reminder of the fact that the church faces persecution in many places, sometimes silent persecution, sometimes violent persecution. But Christians still face suffering for following their faith. And on this day of St. Stephen, we pray for them too, and also for all people who suffer under oppressive regimes, and those who suffer because others try to inflict war and conquering on them. Today, on the Feast of Stephen, we pray for the poor, the marginalized. We give thanks for those who work to help the needy. We pray for Iran, for Afghanistan, for Ukraine. and for all the places where people are oppressed, persecuted, and even killed for their beliefs. And we pray that the message of the Prince of Peace and the King of Justice will bring liberation to our world. May God bless us all.